I'm Ramsey the loud one.
I'm Jesse the short one.
Put us both into one, we are.
Lots of noise, always too fast, lots of laughs. Here's our podcast, the loud and short of it.
Hi, and welcome to Loud and Short of It. I'm Ramsey the loud one.
And I'm Jesse the short one, and this week we're back with a monthly movie review.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, been a little while since we've had one.
Yeah.
And it's still a weird one because, as everybody knows, no movies are being made, no theaters are open, or maybe some are, but you shouldn't be going there.
We
They
actually got
are.
a special deal with the Alamo Draft House, and they showed us two brand new films.
Yes.
We got Justice League 2 that we produced, and we also watched Tenet by Christopher Nolan.
Yes, we've seen them ahead of time. I'm telling you right now, do watch Justice League 2. Don't watch Tenet. It's bad.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into the movies we're reviewing. That was just a quick review.
Yeah, that was a small flex.
This week we're doing Jim Carrey, which if anybody found our brand new Twitter, you got to vote. We were listening to the people. We're doing Jim Carrey.
Yep, you voted poorly.
We're doing The Mask and The Cable Guy in the opposite order.
Good Lord, bro.
And we have very strong opinions on this.
Yeah.
And let's just dive right in.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
just dive
I'm
right
down.
in. I think we're gonna start first with The Cable Guy.
Excellent.
Now, even though these are old movies, I still got to go through all my nerd stuff.
Yeah.
All the little details, all the numbers.
We got to give you the Pokemon stats of every James Carrey movie.
Exactly. So coming up as Pokédex number 1, we got The Cable Guy. Guess what it got from the critics?
56%.
54. And you saw it.
Fuck.
You cheater.
Saw it. I got the number.
Then the audience, 56. So it's weird when the critics and the audience agree on a movie.
Yeah, especially for this one.
Yeah. And then I'm going to give it a 65.
You're a bitch.
What are you giving it?
I give this movie a fucking flat 90.
Okay. Okay, you really like this movie.
I'm not
You
comparing
don't give
this-
out 90s that easily.
I'm not. I do. I'm not comparing this to the rest of the movies we've seen this year, but like literally just as a Jim Carrey movie.
Okay.
I feel like it's the only fair way to do it.
Yeah, I wish I had done it more along those lines, but I'm sticking with my guns. I'm 65. It made 102 million worldwide
Well earned.
total. Yep. And made 20 million opening weekend. For
It's
the
pretty
time,
good.
pretty damn good.
It's like 6 billion tickets.
20 million then is now one Jeff Bezos now. That's how much inflation is.
You made a fucking Jeff Bezos joke the last time.
And the
man.
budget was $47 million.
God, that's not a lot, dude.
For
But
per
also
time to Jeff Bezos.
that shut the fuck up. That's a ridiculously low amount for this movie. That has to go to all the fucking actors.
Yeah.
Every time we watch a fucking movie, the entire budget goes to the actors.
That is very true. Also, Judd Apatow, he helped write it. He's got
Yeah.
to take some money. He was still famous all
He
the way
produced
back then.
it, and Ben Stiller directed it,
Yep.
which is
That's
I
just
kind of
money
won.
everywhere. Yeah. That was interesting thing. Who fucking directed it?
Ben Stiller?
I forgot his name. Okay, thank you. Ben Stiller, who was on our Twitter. He was one of the
Yep.
ones we almost voted for. And the other, Chris Farley, was almost cast in Jim Carrey's role for this movie. And was
Really?
passed over at the last second when Jim Carrey agreed to do it.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so it could have been all three in one movie, maybe, if they had found a way to work it out. Don't know if it would have worked, but
Chris Farley could have played Jack Black.
that would have been much interesting.
The cool thing about this, though, is that like I'm glad they went with Jim Carrey. Don't get me wrong. I would love any amount of more Chris Farley work, but I feel like this movie getting a little dark, Chris Farley couldn't have done it. I never
Yeah.
saw a movie where Chris Farley was dark.
We got 2 movies where Jim Carrey gets dark that we're reviewing. We picked the 2 like, oh, this is a not comedy thing.
Yeah.
Which, on that note, I just got so many interesting facts I wrote down. Everyone can see me staring at what I wrote down. Judd Apatow, he didn't get writing credits for this movie and sued for him and lost. It was a whole big thing with the Writers Guild. And he wanted this movie to be so much more dark and be kind of like a slasher scary movie that had comedy in it.
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
But everyone else didn't want it to be that at all. They wanted it to be like a buddy movie that's just like fun and goofy.
Well, like if you look at the bones of it, are we getting into the
Yeah, we're
nitty-gritty?
diving in. Because my first note is that this movie, I feel like the first half is a completely different movie, and then at the second half, it just fucking bink switches.
Well, like if you look at the like just the fucking bones of this movie, like it's a thriller. It's not like a comedy. Like at first, it kind of puts you off. It's like, oh, Matthew Broderick's there, fucking Jack Black's here, Jim Carrey's here, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a great time. Then like things just progress, and then you remember like halfway through the movie, you're like, oh, this is a movie about a stalker, and then it turns into a movie about a stalker.
Yeah,
and it gets super dark.
If you haven't seen it before, which I had never until we watched it just recently, you can't tell if Jim Carrey is a stalker. Like, for a good portion of it, you're like, maybe he's just a weird fucking dude that just really needs a friend. And then just by the end, you're like, no, he might murder people.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay.
He's fucking nuts.
It might be the most realistic stalker movie of all time.
Yeah,
the majority of stalkers, you're probably not like, you don't see them and you're like, that guy, he's a creep.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, maybe he's just a normal guy. And then you slowly realize this dude's fucking insane.
How many fucking stalkers do you know, dude?
I don't know. What about like Ted Bundy? He was like crazy charismatic. People trusted him. If you saw Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, you'd be like, "What a great guy!"
Yeah, but the cable guy isn't fucking Jim Carrey. So if a fucking cable guy showed up here and got remotely friendly with me, I'd be terrified.
I almost became friends with the LG repairman. A fly got into our TV.
You could have been fucking killed. You could have been cable guy. I would have been your Jack Black.
But he would have stolen a bunch of cool stuff from me and given it to me.
Yeah, and then you got pinched for it.
Yeah. Don't let the cops inside. Jim Carrey broke the number one rule.
What's your next bullet on it?
My next bullet the speech he gives at the very beginning. He goes on his first his first new friend date, and Jim Carrey takes Steven out to see the satellite dish.
Yeah.
Showing him how satellite works, or cable, not satellite.
Yeah.
And he gives a speech in 1994. 1996 is when this one came out.
Born.
And he talks about playing video games with kids in Vietnam and shopping online, and he just nailed it on the head way in advance.
It was one of those things where, like, full disclosure, we watched these movies while we were working, and we both looked up and looked at each other and were like, what the fuck? Had to scramble to find out. I know that, like, market research was probably pointing that way, and like we were all assuming, but it was really just it
just
felt
nail
crazy.
On the head. He fucking perfected it. So.
I don't know, man. But like that was part of the thing, though. Like that was one of the moments that like you start like getting endeared towards him. He's like, oh, it's like Jim Carrey. He's like, oh, this guy's kind of weird, and then he's like, oh, maybe he is just a spaz who needs a fucking friend, and like he shows him a cool dish.
They show him at one point like how his mom just sat him in front of the TV, and that's what made him fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But like when they show it to you the first time, you're like, oh, that's why he's kind of a weird dude.
Yeah.
You're like, I get it. Like he's not good at friends, and then you realize he's really not good at friends.
And then you think about what we've been doing for the past fucking 8 weeks, and you're like, oh Jesus, I've watched more TV than anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back to the quarantine podcast.
Yeah, that made me sad. You killed you Ted Bundy the vibe.
No, sorry, dude. I didn't mean the cable guy.
Then my next note, and this one hurts to say because in the future, if we're still in quarantine, I would love to do a Jack Black episode where we go through some of his movies.
Yeah.
This is one of his worst fucking roles I've ever seen.
I remember you had a reaction to it, and I did not see it at all. You were like, why is he in this fucking movie? He's just an asshole. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, maybe he's in it for something. He's literally like the friend in the horror movie who calls and is just like, get out of the house, the killer's in there. He has no jokes. He's just a dick.
If he had just been like a friend that was just like in a passing scene and then he somehow helped him at the end, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But Jack Black is in this movie. He's never funny.
Yeah.
Not one thing he says is like a laughable moment.
No.
And then he's just the kind of guy where his best friend got a new friend and he's just being the biggest bitch about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're not 100% of your time is it on me, you jerk.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Jim Carrey is trying to get his long-term girlfriend back, who he's broken up with him and kicked him out of the house, and he gets to go on another date with her.
He's trying to get Steve's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Steven is trying to get his girlfriend back. That seems like a very important girlfriend long-term, and Jack Black is just like, oh, you're bailing on me for some woman? And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
They're going to a fucking Soundgarden concert, bro.
Yeah.
Soundgarden.
It was very weird.
Yeah,
I hated Jack Black, and I don't like hating Jack Black.
See, my thing on this is like that scene of like the party, which one of the funniest things ever, because like they go to this fucking the cable guy throws a party at Steve's house, and there's a ton of fucking weird people here, and then you find out these aren't the cable guy's friends, they're just his customers that he invited. And then there's that one girl who he like sets Steve up with, and Jack Black's in the corner being a little bitch. There's that one girl he sets Steve up with, and they go off and fuck, and the next morning Steven found out that it was a fucking hooker that the cable guy hired.
Yep.
Incredible.
Just a great friend. Way better than Jack Black.
That's true. Jack Black was in the corner pissing himself because his friend was getting play. He had no clue it was a hooker.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite part of the movie, I have to be honest. Blew me away.
Yeah. My least favorite part, I just want to get right back into the negatives.
Okay.
Matthew Broderick, he's the first simp in recorded history. He is horrible in this movie.
That's true. Yeah. He's frothing at the mouth for his ex-girlfriend.
Just and then Jim Carrey gives some excellent advice multiple times.
Yeah.
Where he's like, don't make a move the first time you go hang out with your ex-girlfriend. He's like, give her some space. Find a way to love yourself. And Matthew Broderick's like, no. Simply, the only thing good in my entire life is one woman.
He's the polar opposite of Ferris Bueller in this.
Wow. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, just hell of a lot hotter. Just amazing.
I can't remember what she looks like. Is it Jennifer Grey? No, she played his sister.
You're asking if I
Yeah,
know
true.
the name of an actress.
Oh, man. I don't know. Go to your next point. I lost it.
This is my last point.
Okay.
My last point. They left this movie at the very end open for a sequel.
Yeah.
They left Jim Carrey meeting a new person. Jim Carrey's still crazy. You find out just at the very last second. And then they never made a sequel.
Yeah.
Because they're good people. And I just want to end on the note, don't make a fucking sequel. Don't make a remake. Don't make an internet guy. Don't make anything.
Dude, you are setting yourself up for misery with that mindset. You got to have the mindset of, if there's a sequel, I'm not going to watch it. And then you watch it like a year after it comes out, and you're like, yeah, that was pretty bad, but pretend like it doesn't exist. You gotta do what I did with Toy Story 4 instead of what you did, you dipshit.
That's fair. I still pretend Toy Story 4 doesn't exist, though.
Yeah.
Just made me sad for one night, and then it disappeared and
That's
did
fair.
not exist. That one's an easy one, though, because everyone's in agreement that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's not like a new Ghostbusters where people have to talk about it. Toy Story 4 happened, and everyone collectively went, no, it didn't.
No, dude, people like Toy Story 4. We're in the minority here.
I don't know any of those people, so
Yeah, me
if you
neither.
feel that way, don't reach out and stop watching
If
movies.
you feel that way, lose my number. Lose your
Yes.
own number. Pick up a burner.
Exactly.
I think that we have to talk about the best scene in Cable Guy,
Yes.
which is it when they go to medieval times. Jesse's a huge fucking Renaissance fair dork.
Mm-hmm.
He loves going every year.
Whereas he hasn't been like 3 times.
I've
or
gone
anything.
3 times to drink beer and sit at a campfire
And 4
like a
times
cowboy.
once without me, just because he wanted to go to the festival.
But my favorite thing is he was like, well, what do you want to do tonight, Cable Guy? And he's like, oh, here's what I want to do, Steve. And it pans out to medieval times. And the second that popped up, I was like, we need to go there. And then it turns out, like, I don't remember how it got to the fucking point, but they like get in the ring together and they're having
The cable
a
guy
full-on
paid
fight.
to make it so that the two of them could fight in front of everybody.
Dude, they're just the
And
full-on
they just
fucking
gauntlet.
battle.
They just go for it.
Honestly, and I have to say, like, a better choreographed scene than I've seen from some action movies.
And very fun. Just it
Yeah.
stayed that part stayed funny because the reason that I gave it the low score that I did was because all like up till that point still just hilarious and funny, and then it was like after the dream sequence they have where I was like, this just stopped being humorous and is just scary as fuck now. And then Jim Carrey would do funny Jim Carrey
Yeah.
things, and I was just like, I don't know, man, you're pretty fucking spooky.
See, I still thought it was funny to that point because it was just like, after that happened, it made me more excited for the rest of the movie. I just liked it because it was one of those things where like every fucking comedy movie that's like that, where it's about 2 friends, always goes the same way. They're the best of friends, some hilarious hijinks. They hate each other. Maybe it's because of a girl. It was because of a girl this time. But this time, like, they were friends, and he found out he was crazy, and then he had a dream where he was a fucking serial killer.
Yeah.
And then he chases him at the top of a satellite at the end of the movie.
I think my perspective just switched after the scene where Jim Carrey just keeps running himself into the door. and it's got that spooky horror movie thing.
Yeah.
Because it was funny if you're looking at it from like, this is a horror movie with comedy bits in
Yeah.
it, but it doesn't set itself up like that too well. Like, I thought this was a funny movie that might have a little bit of like spooky stuff in it. This
Yeah.
got very spooky. This movie scared me more than The Shining. Significantly more than The Shining.
My favorite part is during the dream sequence. Like, it's scary at first, and then you notice Jim Carrey's eyes are starting to glow green, and I was like, oh god. But it's another thing too, is like, I like movies like this. Like, I wish there were more movies like horror comedy movies, especially. I want them to break out more, because like action comedy movies are fucking dope. Sahara, one of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
The one thing is, I felt like we were starting to get close was with Get Out. It had like a ton of comedy elements. And, like, there was a ton of funny scenes because the director's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And you see so many horror directors talk about the similarities and through lines between comedy and horror because of timing and whatnot. But I would love to see more comedy movies like edge towards horror instead of horror movies edge towards comedy.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future on that one.
Yeah. Cable Guy 2, make it.
No, don't do that. Absolutely don't do that.
Our
Like
100th
the Internet
episode.
guy.
Our 100th episode is gonna be us pitching Internet Guy 2
with special guest Jim Carrey. He's
Yeah.
gonna come on. Jim Carrey's just crazy enough. He might come on our podcast.
Oh man, I'd be so happy. I'd be filled with anxiety the entire time, but like the initial stages would be
We give
amazing.
him the old shitty mic. We're like, no one wants to hear you anyways. You're just the guest.
He just goes up in the rafters and he's just holding it up.
He has to wear the mask the whole
Yeah,
time.
dude, I would love to have a Jim Carrey cam. Just have him in the rafters the whole time. Cut the gym.
Okay, we ready to get in the next movie?
Yeah.
Tricked ya. We're not getting
We're
to the
not?
next
What
movie.
do you got?
Speed round Ace Ventura movie. Or not Ace Ventura. Jim Carrey movies. Let's fucking go.
moron. I forgot about that.
Let's fucking go. Ace Ventura, what are your thoughts?
Which one?
The first one.
Excellent.
I think it's the best Jim Carrey movie ever made.
No.
Flag down, best Jim Carrey movie ever made.
Flag down. Batman Forever.
He's not even like the main guy.
I don't care.
Nah,
No,
okay.
flag down. Dude, I don't know. I think Fun with Dick and Jane. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. That movie's fucking hilarious. I think that if that was a more mainstream Jim Carrey movie, I would have fought way harder for that to be one of the movies we watched. Flag down, one of the funniest ones. Still one of my favorite comedy movies ever.
Okay. Ace Ventura 2.
Hilarious. Top.
Almost just as good as the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Sonic.
Actually, before we get into that,
Yeah.
no. Before we get into that, Ace Ventura 2, I never watched Ace Ventura 1. I watched it, like, sparingly, but I watched Ace Ventura 2 one time, and I was, like, 8. My mom said she'd never heard me laugh that hard to this day.
Damn.
And I watched it, like, 5 times in a row. And then I watched Ace Ventura 1 years later as an adult, and it's still fucking hilarious.
I think Ace Ventura 1 is probably my top 10 most watched movies of all time.
It's just
My
good.
mom loves that movie and would just play it when I was a kid. And there's so many scenes in that movie that should not be shown to children, but, you know.
Dude,
I
Ace Ventura 1
turned
gets
out
some,
fine.
like, it hits some muddy water.
You know,
Transphobia.
It is dated now.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Doesn't make it not funny, though.
No.
Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Haven't seen it.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
I want to say, Jim Carrey, only reason to go watch that movie.
Yeah.
The
I have
scenes
no
with
interest.
him dancing and just, it literally isn't even him talking. It's just like Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey stuff without even talking. They're the best scenes in the whole movie.
You'll trick me into watching that one day. I guarantee you.
I'm not watching it a second time.
Oh, then it never will happen.
The Truman Show.
Fuck. Good. I don't remember it very much.
I put it as my second favorite, but he's not really Jim Carrey, and he's just kind of an act. Like, you know, it's just not. It's not
He wasn't
as zany.
fucking typecast.
Yeah, exactly.
What a dick.
Bruce Almighty.
It's okay.
Yeah, I wrote good. That was
Did you watch Evan Almighty, the sequel, Steve Carell?
No.
Oh, incredible film.
Really?
Yeah, I own 60 copies on DVD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. It covers his whole wall.
Yeah.
Yes Man.
Oh, I watched that once. Good because of Jim Carrey, bad because of Zoe Deschanel.
Rude. Man on the Moon.
No, I never saw it.
I never saw it, but I watched the documentary about it. The documentary about it's amazing.
Mm.
Don't know about the actual movie though. And then this one, just for you, The Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh, dude, you're fucking wrong about this movie. Now, here's the deal. If you're a big fucking book nerd, you're going to hate this movie. But you know what the thing is? In my house growing up, we were athletes. We didn't
Mm.
have time for a series of unfortunate
You were
events.
not student athletes.
My
just
were.
athletes.
My
I'm
childhood
like,
was
look,
a series of unfortunate events. I didn't need to read a bunch of fucking dorks be abused by Jim Carrey. I watched it on the silver screen. Brought me immense joy.
garbage movie and Jim Carrey couldn't even save it.
Pee-pee pants.
That's all the ones I wrote down.
What? There's
Yeah.
like 3 more in there. We got.
There's a lot more than 3 more, but I hadn't seen them, so I just.
Damn, I can't even think of it. I had one that I lost.
Somebody's gonna add us on Twitter and be mad about it. but
Yeah.
You know what? Doesn't matter because it's time to get into the mask.
Mm.
We're gonna have some takes that are gonna polarize people on this one.
I hope not. I really fucking hope not.
Critics, 77%, so significantly more than Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Audience, 56%, so identical to Cable Guy. Audiences felt the same. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a slight boost because I loved it so dearly as a child. I'm going to give it a 40.
I'm gonna give it a 20 because I only watched it once as a child and I don't even remember most of
Yeah,
it.
that's a very fair assessment.
And it made $352 million worldwide, so way more. Made $23 million opening weekend, same amount.
Stinky.
And its budget was only $23 million, which is insane with how much animation there is.
Yeah, we were going to talk about it earlier. The one thing is, like, get a little movie nerdy here. The reason that this budget is probably so much lower than the fucking Cable Guys, because Cable Guys the Cable Guy was shooting on location. Here, 100% shot all in sound stages. The CGI is dog shit. Fucking, it's okay. It's
I have an
stylistic.
interesting thing about the budget as
What?
well. They got to save a bunch of CGI money because Jim Carrey is so fucking weird with his neck and shit that they just didn't even animate some of it. Some of it's just him green moving his neck in Jim Carrey
Incredible.
ways. Yeah.
Incredible.
That's fucking.
I like the part. I hope to think that the part where he turns into a little spiral was
That's
all
actually Jim Carrey.
All James.
Yeah, I'd believe it. And then I want to jump right into my most important point. It's in all bold. It's in red. It's 40 caps higher.
Okay.
Jim Carrey does not need to be animated. There is no fucking need to animate Jim Carrey.
Now, let me interrupt your dumb point with my more succinct point. If you're going to make a fucking movie with Jim Carrey, don't let him only be funny when he's wearing the mask. He's not funny without the mask. He's just like, you get a couple of... He's as funny as, like, action actors in their funny moments. Like, it's just not fucking good. When he puts on the mask, like... It's one of those things where it's like too far sometimes, and I'm just like, there's no fucking
problem.
balance in this movie.
I think some of the funniest stuff that Jim Carrey does in all of his movies is just the way he moves around and looks and adjusts his face and dances.
Yeah.
That shit is so fucking funny in every scene. But when his face is animated and when he moves too much, they speed it up and make it look different.
Yeah.
It's just not as funny. It doesn't look like Jim Carrey.
Also, the biggest thing about Jim Carrey is just like, not the biggest thing, obviously, but he plays off reactions really well. The people in the room around him need to be like reflecting like a certain amount of like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But in The Mask, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Like it was set in this comic world, and he was doing comic book shit, and people were just like, this is a little crazy. I'm like, no, this is way fucking crazier than any other Jim Carrey movie.
I think in general the movie would have been better, and I'm not saying this is a negative to Jim Carrey, but there was just no reason for Jim Carrey to be the Mask.
Yeah.
Like, I think the reason that Jim Carrey got it was because they were like, who is like the Mask comic book character? And they picked Jim Carrey because he could do all that. But if they had gotten somebody that is an actor that's more known for just being stone-faced and not funny and not silly and boring,
Yeah.
and then made him act silly and crazy, it would have made the movie way funnier. Having Jim Carrey push things to the max limit you can possibly get and be as insane as possible, that's what he does in a movie where he's a pet detective and a movie where he's a cable guy. You don't need him to also be a superhero. Like, it doesn't work.
What they could have done, this is a quick Ramsey fix for this movie, is make Jim Carrey as the Masked Jim Carrey, and then make Jim Carrey Stanley Lipkiss or whatever the fuck. Make him not Jim Carrey. Have another actor play as him.
That could have been, yeah.
Fucking Mark Ruffalo's not putting on a big green suit. Yeah, I don't know. I think that would have made the movie. Well, my pick for that would have been Michael Keaton because I love Michael Keaton. Also, another thing is that this is a fucking, apparently, by the law, this is a superhero movie.
Yeah, it's a comic book movie.
Dick fucking superhero movie. Because all he does is be fucking annoying and rob banks.
Kind of a super villain movie. More in line with the Joker.
Is he though? Yeah, this does have similar beats to the Joker. It's a down on his luck dude who, instead of finding schizophrenia, he finds a green mask.
Yeah.
And he robs a bank.
Yeah, and there's some scenes in it that look very similar, kind of. They got the same vibe.
Yeah, whenever he's like up on the dance floor and like everyone's like, "Wow, the mask is amazing," and he does this number. I was like, I see where Joker got its start.
And then I'm gonna put my flag down again. Worst Jim Carrey movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't do it. There's got to be something worse.
Oh,
I
I
is.
know what my second is, and I assume that this is your least favorite.
Oh, don't say Grinch.
The Grinch.
You're such an idiot.
Which
the Grinch
I
is
think
so fucking good.
What I've learned based on the patterns, based on all the trajectory, if you paint Jim Carrey green, he's not funny anymore.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Here's
if
the
you make
thing.
his face green or his whole body green, not funny no more.
Jesus. Here's the main difference between these two movies. In The Mask, another one of my biggest fucking problems with this movie is, like I said, Jim Carrey's only funny when he's wearing the mask. He puts this thing on for a total of 15 minutes in the fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
In The Grinch, he's Grinching all the time. Every minute of that movie, he's Grinched up, doing funny shit, scamming people.
I stand by Jim Carrey is funny when he does Jim Carrey things in normal situations. When he does Jim Carrey things in animated and goofy situations, he's just another goofy guy in this world.
This is gonna be fucking the people versus the Grinch who stole Christmas.
Yes, I boo the second Grinch. Watch the animated one; it's better.
You're a fucking loser.
It's so
Wait,
much
the
better.
new animated one?
No.
Oh, the old
No,
one?
the OG one.
Yeah, it's okay, I guess. But the other point of the Grinch is that the Grinch is funny because he's dealing with all the people in Whoville who are fucking terrified of him. And they're like, this guy is a maniac. And you get the Jim Carrey reactions when he's eating trash and saying Saint Nick can suck his fucking ass. Now, the Mask, on the other hand, robs a fucking bank and then does a musical number with the police.
That was
And they
probably my
love it.
favorite scene, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
I
man.
was ready to eat fucking lead, dude.
Mm.
Musical numbers was my next point, but I got a little animated because you had to bring up the Grinch.
Yeah, fuck the Grinch.
You're a bad person.
I'm gonna start a poll now. There'll be a poll on Twitter soon about whether or not the Grinch is a good movie.
If you do,
and if the audience says yes, I will watch the Grinch again all the way through.
Just
I've
watch-
seen it. I've seen it twice.
when did
Both
you watch it
times I
last
hated
time?
it. Like 2 years ago. It was in this house.
Oh, well,
I think it was-
this might be one of those things where it's just
I
not
just
for you.
fucking hate it.
I think it's
just not
immaculate.
funny.
You're such a Christmas guy. This is so surprising from you.
It's just not a good Christmas movie.
Wait, do you like Home Alone?
yeah,
And Home Alone
100%.
2?
I love Home Alone. And Home
Okay, I
Alone
was
2.
worried you just had bad Christmas takes, but I guess
No,
not.
Those are great movies. We'll do a whole episode on Christmas movies in the future.
Maybe during Christmas?
Yeah, maybe during Christmas, but we'll get into that later. I got excellent Christmas movie takes.
We probably should have had a Christmas episode. Looking back. All right, let's. What do we got? What else do we got
I
on
got
the
some more
Mask?
interesting facts.
I doubt it.
Cameron Diaz's first movie.
No ass McGee.
She was paid less than $500,000.
Really?
Yeah, just no
This
one.
was her first movie. You just
first
said?
movie.
Wow, she blew up fucking massively and
Right
then
away.
tanked immediately. But Jesus, good for her.
And then
There's some Cameron
other
Diaz
other
movies.
interesting, still money. Still talking about the money. She was paid less than $500,000. Jim Carrey got offered $10 million to make The Mask 2, and he fucking refused to do it. Which makes me assume Jim Carrey's aware that this movie's fucking dog shit. Or he thinks it's so good he didn't want to ruin it. Or he's fucking crazy.
He probably hated wearing the fucking mask.
That's probably
That's
true.
why so people don't know that. That's why a ton of superhero movies don't get sequels. Ben Affleck, part of the reason he's not Batman anymore, he hated wearing the suit.
Cameron Diaz admitted in an interview that it was like one of the hardest things to act because Jim Carrey has to pull the mask off in front of her in scenes.
Yeah.
And like it's CGI stuff, so then it goes back to Jim Carrey. But he would pull it off and just have like weird green shit and sponges stuck to his face.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like leading into her and being Jim Carrey, and she just have to like play it off that he's back to being normal again.
She would fucking beef it in a Marvel movie. I don't know. I think you got any more tidbits?
Just one more.
Go for it.
Critics hated Ace Ventura. And I read that, and I thought, no way. And I went back and looked at the Rotten Tomatoes from all the way back then, and they came out the same year. They hated Ace Ventura, and they loved The Mask, and this is what gave Jim Carrey that huge boost to go on and start his career and make a shitload of money.
This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a cult classic. People fucking love this movie, and I don't understand.
I don't get it either, dude. Like before I was like, Jesse's like, let's watch The Mask. I was like, oh fuck yeah, I loved The Mask when I was a kid. I even liked the cartoon and shit when I was a kid, and now I'm just like, rewatching it, I was like, oh no, because I watched The Mask like 6 months ago, but I must have been fucking zoinked or some shit. Because holy God, I don't remember half of this movie. It's just, I don't know. And then the villain sucks.
Yeah, he makes no sense.
Jim Carrey and the dog both put on the mask and do funny, goofy shit. And then the villain puts on the mask and he's just bad. He's just a bad guy who's fully cognizant of what he's doing.
The mask rules don't apply in any way.
No, he's like, it just sucks.
Also, Jim Carrey meets like a very reasonable looking, very nice woman. And his friend's like, why don't you talk to her instead of just going after girls that are obviously not in your league, Mr. Jim Carrey? And then they pull like every comedy movie ever. And she's a fucking monster. She rats him out to the cops and the mafia and steals all the fucking money and bails on Jim.
Yeah.
And then Cameron Diaz is like, no, I love you, Jim. I really actually do.
It also
no
goes
alternative motive.
It also goes to the end of where the point of where she's talking to him, and she's like, yeah, and you're a really nice guy, and anyone would be lucky having Jim Carrey. Goes, do you mean that? She goes, no, and the villain busts in with guns, and she's like, thank God, I've been vamping for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
I was like, what the fuck?
It wasn't like she didn't want to do something evil
No.
and had to for the money. She just threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
So if this movie taught anybody a lesson, it's that the more attractive you are, the more moral of a person you are.
Exactly.
An
Perfect.
excellent lesson for the
Yeah.
1990s.
So
So that's how we fucking feel about The Mask.
yeah, I'm flag in the ground. The Cable Guy is now my favorite Jim Carrey movie. I take it back, the original one.
I'm still sticking with Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I had a blast watching Cable Guy. Just final notes. I had a blast watching Cable Guy. It completely fucking captivated me. Like I said, we were working while we watched this. I got no work done during the Cable Guy. I had a very productive day during The Mask. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Stinky movie. And if anyone says you were working, that's why you didn't like it, you're fucking 7. I'm sorry. Get a job.
You should have been working while watching it. Work harder.
Oh, man. What do we, well, I guess that wraps, what's this month? July?
That wraps July up.
All right. Well, what do we got next week?
Hopefully not too many more of these before we're back to a normal life and normal episodes and monthly movie reviews.
So we pray. What do we got next week?
I believe we have a
From the Ground Up.
All right. Well, so concludes it. Thank you for listening.
follow us on Twitter.